Raise your hand if you have a question for it. I see one, two. I see 4, 5.
I like the little one.
All right.
We have.
So,
He's here. All right. All right. One more time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you having fun at the Cincinnati Comic Expo? This is the moment you've been waiting for today, isn't it? I can look around and see a lot of hooligans here. Excellent. I believe this might be the first Doctor that we've had to Cincinnati, and I am just as pumped as all of you. By the way, in case you don't know who I am, my name is Aloysius Fox. I work for the Pandora Society, thepandorasociety.com. You might want to check it out. We also put on a number of events. Some of you might have heard of a steampunk event that happens in April. Excellent. The Steampunk Symposium. And also, we are putting on an event this weekend, tomorrow night. Next door, we're going to have the Time Travelers Ball. I know probably a lot of you heard about Geek Prom going on tonight, but there is also an event going on Saturday night, which is going to be a mixture of Whovians and steampunks, and we've got bands. And we are going to have an appearance by your favorite Doctor Who. Yes, the man himself, Paul McGann, is going to be making an appearance tomorrow at our party. So you actually can party with a Time Lord. Excellent. And, all right, well, let's see. He has managed to have, and still has, a very extensive acting career. Born in, was it 1959, 4 years old when the first Doctor Who came out. Please, big round of applause for Mr. Paul McGann.
Am I really the first Doctor?
I believe. Is there anybody in the audience who... I'm sorry. That's never happened before. I mean, unless anybody can correct me, I believe this is the first Doctor we've had come to Cincinnati. Am I correct? All right. Well, you are. You've taken our Whovian, you know what.
Hi, folks.
Okay, so
I just got off the plane. And you're all in my dream. I haven't slept for about 48 hours, so... Yeah. I have dreams like this, though. I have dreams where I can see kind of backlit faces, flash photography.
That does remind me. Actually, one of the things I was going to ask you to refrain from is flash photography, just because it can be a bit disorientating, especially after jet lag and 48 hours.
Well, you can, you know, we're going to do it now, and then we can just...
Okay.
Then you can stop.
All right. So when Mr. McGann says stop, what are you going to do?
No, you say stop.
Oh, I'm the one who says stop? All right. All right, so two more pictures. All right.
Product placement. Get me a gig.
Just going to have a bit of H2O.
Would you like some of this?
Go
on. Do you drink black coffee?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I think I'd probably prefer a cup of tea. What's your preference, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. There you go.
Some coffee fans in the room. No, I like coffee. I think it's because I'm insomniac. And so, how many insomniacs do we have in the room? Look at that. I'm always amazed. It's always like a third of the people here. And probably some of you won't even touch the coffee, but it's my friend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Cheers, folks. So who's going to do the talking? Is it you? Is it me?
Wow. I was going to ask a few questions, and then we do have a microphone, so probably after about 15 or 20 minutes, I'm sensing there's a lot of questions. Put your hands up if you've got a question. Yeah, there's a lot of questions waiting out there. All right, so what we'll do is after about 15, 20 minutes, we have the microphone there, we'll form a line and so forth. But yeah, Paul, I had a few questions for you to start with. So yeah, I mentioned earlier then you were born in 1959 in Liverpool.
Did you have to tell them that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to show off that I did some research. My first question is, did you watch Doctor Who as a kid?
Yeah. The thing is, in Britain at the time, in the 60s, there were two, as you probably may remember, there were just 2 or 3 TV channels, so everybody watched everything. And Doctor Who happened to be on when you got home from school or just after. So yeah, everybody watched it. Even if you weren't a die-hard fan, you knew it and you watched it. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I used to enjoy it. I remember I did enjoy it. I got 4 brothers and a sister, and we all watched it. Yeah. But I remember talking about it at school and with school friends. And during that period, it was William Hartnell.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember the first lot. And even now, because they're rerunning it now, one is reminded that they were only short, like 30 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes long. But I liked him. He's my Doctor. He was the first one is my Doctor. And you never forget him first. I like him because he was, and I think Capaldi now has something of the same feel, the same spirit. You know, there's a sort of gravitas, and there's a slightly scary aspect to him, which I think has been missing for a while.
I thought it was very poignant, yes, in that first episode when he says to Clara, "I'm not your boyfriend."
Yeah.
Let's get back to the old school Doctor.
Yeah, I think that's a wise move.
Although, in a way, you're kind of guilty. Well, okay, the script writer. The script writer is guilty, but you also
He was so naive, completely naive. I didn't.
You do go down in Who history as the first kiss.
Who history? Are you a Who historian?
Mildly.
Who historian?
I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there.
But you know what? Daphne Ashbrook was completely oblivious. I mean, she didn't know what Doctor Who was. We'd actually gone onto the set, and McCoy was there, of course. This is in Vancouver in '96. And 2 days in, or rather 2 nights in, there were night shoots. The thing was mainly night shoots. And she said, "Can I ask you something? What is this?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "What is Doctor?" And I said, "Geez, you got through the audition and you got through the whole schmear without even knowing what it is." And she said, "Yes, didn't have a clue." And she'd grown up in California, and she was 24, 25 years old, never heard of it. And McCoy and me then had the great pleasure of spending the next few nights filling her in on 30 odd years of history at that point. Of course, McCoy was an expert, so he could come for me a little bit. But that just shows you. So when it came to things like that, neither was he kisses her or she kisses him. I don't know who kissed whom.
Yes, the Doctor kisses her, because then she says about how she likes it and encourages you to do it again.
Oh yeah, that's right. But neither of us were in the slightest bit. None of us understood the import of it really. It was only when it came out that we did.
Because that seemed to open the door to a lot of the romance that occurred later in the other Doctors.
Did it?
Do you think so?
What do you think, folks? Do you think it did?
Yeah.
You had laid down a marker for
Yeah, you were the first.
all this touchy-feely, kissy-wishy?
Yeah. Your Doctor was first. You laid the precedent for that. Actually, you mentioned the auditions.
You laid the precedent.
Precedent.
That should be a crime.
Yes, unless you have stains on your dress. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that. All right. Well, that was also 1996, wasn't it? Okay, moving on. So yes, mentioned about audition. I'm embarrassing myself now. If I understand, one of your brothers also auditioned for the role at the same time.
Yeah, Mark.
And how did that go between the two of you?
We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about the audition process. No, because I come from 4 actors, and there's only 4 years between us, siblings. And we long ago agreed that we would never talk about work. If we want to talk about work, then we talk to Mum. So Mum is like information central, so it still holds today, we still do that today. So
So you had no idea that you were both going for the same part?
we had an inkling, I think, but neither of us mentioned it to the other, because we decided that it would save time. And for 7 or 8 years, we even shared an agent, the four of us. So it worked. You know, we were able to sort of contain the intrigues and the egos and everything else. And I think because we understood that we were sufficiently different, that we were very close in age, we looked very similar as well at that time. And the agent was convinced that, you know, as we were, that we were sufficiently different that we could get different work. And this actually happened, you know, it was true. But every now and again, the Doctor Who was one of them. That particular audition, you know, we'd end up we'd go up for the same thing. Because when you work as an actor, it's nothing to do with your what's the word, uniqueness or your particular force of personality or whatever that gets you called in for things or gets you the gig. You just happen to be on lists of people who look a bit like you, roughly your height, roughly your age. That's how it is. That's how you've got to get used to that when you work as an actor. And if you've got a bunch of siblings, then now and again it's going to happen. But anyway, Mark auditioned for it. I only knew because later on there was a film of it. There's a film on YouTube that you can see of his audition and of my audition for it.
And that was the first thing you found out.
But you know the real reason I think that Mark, Siegel never told me. But I think Phil, the reason that both of us auditioned for the role is because Phil couldn't tell us apart. He'd seen this, the year before the so-called movie was shot, 94 in fact. Me and all my brothers, the four of us, we made a film, a BBC serial together called The Hanging Girl, which is this thing that we mounted. Long, expensive thing about the set during the Irish potato famine. And we played brothers in it. And this is where, according to Phil Siegel, he had first seen me dressed as this 1840s Irish priest in the frock coat and the hair, you know, was long. And Phil said, that's my doctor, that's the guy I wanted. But a year later, when push came to shove, he couldn't tell Mark and I apart, so we both went in and read for it.
Did Mark also have long hair at the time?
We all had long hair.
Okay.
Yeah. We look really similar.
Now, if I recall, you do have some of your pictures from the Hanging Gale down at your table as well.
I brought that particular picture today, yeah.
So if you have not
So
seen this
if you've not seen, even if you don't want it, then come and have a look at it. But it's a picture of me as the doctor, as Father Liam, you know, with the hair. And, but when I got to Vancouver, of course, I had the hair chopped off. Feel freaked, but there we are.
That was going to be a question I was going to ask, because was that for The One That Got Away or Catherine the Great?
The One That Got Away, yeah. So
okay, because that was more of a military...
I got so I was always getting soldier boy parts. In my, not why, at least soldierish person I could think of. But I was always getting soldier boy parts, and for this particular one, I had a Chris Eccleston. So those pictures, of course, as you know now, because I've often whinged about it, during the pilot, the movie we made, I wore a wig. I had to wear a full wig because Siegel was adamant that the Doctor had to have long, tressy, curly hair. It was the olden days.
Actually, I just noticed a parallel, because at the end of With Nail and I, you cut off all your hair and you've got the role of a soldier.
That's right.
With Nail and I.
Some spice and strange.
And
symmetry. That's my whole career right
it's
there.
Quite strange.
It's a hair job. But who is a hair job?
Actually, just a quick show of hands. How many of you have seen With Nail and I? Okay, now the rest of you need to look this up. It is on YouTube for streaming. It is a fantastic movie. Paul McGann, and also Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who himself, didn't he play the Doctor once?
He did. And actually, that's what I was going to sort of see if anybody else knew that. 2003.
I just did your segue for you.
Yeah. Which actually, I believe is around about the same time you did the animation as well, too, wasn't it, for Shada?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it must be 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know how many of you know, but yeah, Richard E. Grant, who later played the Great Intelligence, in 2003 was the Ninth Doctor.
It's great intelligence. You'd have to meet this guy, really. You'd have to meet this guy.
And this is all kind of ironic because, yes, the movie With Nail and I, which is a fantastic film, features the two of them together. Do you disagree? I love that film. I mean,
No, I love the film.
okay.
I love it. I love the film.
Actually, well, I guess that would be another question then, and I hope I'm not stealing everybody's questions. I promise to hand over the floor in about 5 to 10
Well,
minutes.
they'll have to be imaginative.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say has been your favorite role? Because, I mean, your television career has been, in England, has been extensive. You've made a large number of movies. Which role in particular?
Well, With Nail, because it was the first movie. I think, you know, a lot of performers will say the same thing. You know, when were you happiest? The first time. When you knew nothing. You didn't know there were rules to break, or you didn't have any kind of shtick, you know. You hadn't begun to repeat yourself. With Mel and I, it was a joy because of that, because we didn't know what we were doing. And even had it not been a successful film, I think, you know, we'd have still felt that way about it. Doing The Doctor, though when we made the movie, and this is, you know what, even at the time, my agent had been in Doctor Who, but she never told me about it. I think that's because, you know, it was in the wilderness years when we got to shoot it, and my agent was Janet Fielding. She became a theatrical agent years later, and she was my agent. And when we went over to Vancouver to shoot the movie, which is going to be 6 weeks, I turned up there with McCoy. Janet came over. Like agents like to come over and check 5-star hotels, okay, you know. The taps work and that sort of thing. The food's good. And she came over and she stayed for the first few days. And on the first night that we were out shooting in some back street somewhere in Vancouver, and I remember it was freezing, it was January, and we're all sort of, you know, wrapped up against the cold. There was a few kids around the perimeter of this thing, and one of them, 20 years old maybe, he's hanging around, it's 1 in the morning. Anyway, he finally gets to speak to me. I mean, I'm dressed in the thing, McCoy is there. And as he's talking to me, this kid, I see he looks over my shoulder, and Janet's there with a full hood on. It took this kid 30 seconds to twig who it was. And he called her over, and when she came over, this kid told her everything she'd ever done, every episode she'd ever been in, and I'm like, wow. It's just like, this kid's not even as old as my kids are. And when he left, she turned to me and she said, now you understand. Now you know what it's going to be like. Because she'd been trying to tell me, but without giving the game away. I had no idea, you know, that she'd even been in Doctor Who. But that was the very beginning. That was the beginning of realizing that there were people out there with this huge knowledge of, like at that time there was 30 odd years of it. Now there's 50 years of it. And that was a surprise to me. It wasn't just another job, you know. It was never going to be just another job. And McCoy said the same thing, you know, even while we were making it. Things are never going to be the same. You know, once you're in this, you'll always be in it. And I said, oh, don't be ridiculous, you know, because you know, actors, they do jobs and they move on and they do another job. And but he was absolutely right. This one is, you're in a sense, it's a job for life. And it's kind of beautiful because there's nothing else like that. There's nothing else. And in a way, though I'm loath to speak for him and I won't, but and Chris Eccleston is a friend of mine, but it kind of freaked him out. I think probably it was that aspect of it. I think Chris may have been under the impression, as I was when I've got to say, I admit when I first did it, that Chris may have thought that it was something that he could do and then leave aside. It doesn't work like that with Doctor Who. You can't. It's too big, you know, once you're in. And I'm sure that there were other things similar, but it was a bit of a lesson, you know. It's true.
true. I mean, you've sort of entered a mythology, if anything.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And in a way, you want to be an actor. Actors are storytellers. And you have to try to work as an actor and be successful as an actor and enjoy yourself as an actor. It's an imaginative exercise. The business just goes on without whether you're successful or not. You can't govern that. But what you can govern is the spirit in which you do it. And I've been doing that for 30 odd years, and I've always tried to work in the right spirit. And when because it's a childlike thing, it's a childish thing. We're storytellers. That's it. That's all you are. Isn't it? That's the job description. And these things are as big and as keen and as your imagination. And like I say, then you can almost enjoy it. But I don't know. I think some things can be a little bit daunting. And perhaps again, I don't want to speak for him, but that's what freaked Chris out a little bit, because 50 years of mythology is a big deal. It's a big deal, and I've been in panels before. I mean, last year we did one at I forget where it was, Chicago perhaps, and because I've had to play catch up, as Capaldi will now be playing catch up, or whoever gets involved in the thing has to, you've got to. It's huge, and. I remember being at a panel and somebody from the floor asked some question, a young woman. And I had to say, you know what, I don't know. And she said, what are you doing here? and that was the reaction it got in the room. Because there's always one, isn't there? There's always one or two in the room. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And we laughed, but
kind of get the concept of actor.
It's kind of the thing. But it's a gift. And anyway, probably in answer to 3 of your previous questions, you don't understand that before you do it. Because it is a bit of a gift that, as a role, and there will never be another one like it. Because you can't walk away.
Yes, last year in November, you were brought back. And I know that there's a lot of people...
Yeah, but the 8th Doctor, don't forget, he's lived pretty successfully on audio and on the radio. And I'm happy about that. Because I love that. And in Britain, more so than here, which surprises me, considering I think it was probably in the USA, that invented radio drama. And I think there was probably once a great tradition of it. It's not so strong at the moment, but I know in Britain you can have a whole career on radio. You can do radio drama, there's radio reps, there's always commercial, there's always BBC drama and radio plays and that sort of thing. So, there's work for us back there, but it's something I really like. Again, for the reasons that I just described, it's an imaginative thing. You can do things on the radio that you could never afford to shoot. They're so fantastical. And in a way, the great strength of them is that it involves your own imagination. They're limitless, if you like, as the imagination of the listener. And if you try to translate or transpose that to a budget for special effects, you can never afford it. That's the beauty of it. And so the 8th Doctor's lived all these years on audio. But which I was glad about as well last November when Moffat got me back, even just for a day. It only took a day to shoot the Night of the Doctor. But I was glad that I was warmed up. I think had there been just a gap, say between 96 and last year, I probably would have floundered, I wouldn't have known what I was doing. But as it was, we just turned up at Cardiff. The costume was hanging on a rail. I'd had no input into that. There was the set. If you go and put that on, get in there and say this. I think he'd written it the night before. It was that quick. But we were able to do it because we knew what we were doing. I think.
So you said warm up. I guess really. With the audio dramas and so forth, and Shada that was on BBC.com or .co.uk, maybe it didn't even really kind of cool down. And that actually leads into what I was going to make my last question. This is perfect. You're feeding me. Brilliant.
We rehearsed last night.
I flew to England for it. How does it feel when, because often, generally people remember the movie, may not necessarily be aware of the Big Finish productions and so forth. But technically, you have the longest tenure as the Doctor. If you count all those in, it's 9 years, which you've got Tom Baker beat by 2 years.
Is that right?
Oh, okay. Well,
is there a prize?
I don't know. I was gonna ask you. I mean,
loyalty.
Yeah. How does this make you feel that you actually have 2 years on Tom Baker, who is generally considered to have the longest tenure?
Yeah, but listen, they did all the hard work. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was just sit there and watch the clock, watch the years go by. They do. They call me the longest and the shortest. That's what they call me. It's got a nice moniker. No, I don't. How do I feel about it? I suppose I should feel thrilled. I don't know. I've never even thought about it.
You're just
but
too honest.
I never even thought about it. I'm just glad, and I mean this. I'm glad that. I said before a few years back. I thought that at least of course, it was disappointing that the movie never went to series. The pilot that we made, which just wasn't meant to be. But it was even more disappointing when to feel a few years later that the Eighth Doctor was a kind of aberration. Or at least that it wasn't very well received. That some people would say, "Well, look, it's been a mistake." Only what if that hadn't happened? Because the pilot didn't go to series. But he's come back since then. I think he's been rehabilitated. I've even noticed that in the last 3 or 4 years, he's even now moved into the centre of some of the photographs. Whereas before, he was the kind of, you're lucky you might see him in a corner and a wisp of smoke. And now, sometimes I'm even there, and Matt Smith is over that side. It means a lot to us. It's all about the billing, let me tell you. It's all about the billing. No, but I'm glad that he's found his place, he's found his feet, because it felt a bit weird out there, let me tell you, for 10 years, despite doing the audios. It felt weird having done that Doctor that nobody really ever wanted to talk about. So, yeah, that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like for a while. But things turned.
I know myself and many other people in this room would disagree about that.
Things turn.
About the Eighth Doctor.
There you go. But the beauty, part of the great beauty of Doctor Who, and Moffat's presently at the helm of it, is you can rewrite this stuff. You can go back and, because this is exactly what he did with Night of the Doctor. And you can you can endorse what you like. You can make things canon, as they say, which is nice, it's neat, and the story just rolls on. It's great, really. Whoever invented it really should have won a prize.
At this point, if you have a question, can you please line up behind the microphone? And depending on how many people we get, if we do get a long line...
So there's no roving mic?
So, no, we have them lining up. I think we're going to have a lot of questions, so if we can maybe just keep it to 1 or 2. So, yeah, no coming up to the microphone. And, oh yeah, please know, this is more of a statement than a question.
Well, my question is in 3 parts.
Yeah, so we'll keep it down, and hopefully no special requests either.
I do have 2, one for myself and one for a friend who couldn't make it.
Fire away.
My friend who couldn't make it has put it on himself to experience Doctor Who in its entirety. And he just made it to the television movie yesterday. He's been doing this for the last 5 months, and he finally made it to the television movie yesterday.
Wow.
He wanted to ask, do you personally have a favorite companion or story from your time with Big Finish?
Yes. Yeah,
share?
The favorite story is Sharda.
Okay.
Just because that really got the ball rolling for us, and it was this Douglas Adams script that it had a bit of history. It was great. But later on, when I got to work with Sheridan Smith, I was really happy. It was fantastic. So there's your answer. But I don't want to let the others down.
Oh no.
I think this present. I don't know how many of you follow Dark Eyes, but Ruth Bradley is fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, wherever you are.
And my own question, you were in The Light at the End. You were in The Night of the Doctor. You were in the Five-ish Doctors reboot, even if you weren't with all the other doctors. You were basically the doctor who was there the most during the 50th anniversary. How was that experience of being just so over the place in this massive celebration of 5 decades of the show?
It's weird because I felt like I wasn't there at all. That's strange. But when you put it like that, I see what you mean. You know, with the Five-ish Doctors, I did one afternoon because I was in Ireland working. I wasn't in the 50th, was I? The big...
Well, you were in the night, not the day.
Yeah, I think Night of the Doctor was kind of is part of it. Yeah.
I personally, that Five-ish Doctors, I thought had the spirit.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it was, I thought that in its little way was the best thing on over the weekend. I thought it was fantastic. But no, I felt happy. Yeah, part of it, finally. Finally, belatedly. There you are.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I've got sort of a mythology-heavy question, so if you want to say I don't know, I've got an alternate. There's been with your movie a bit of a controversy about the whole, doctor being half human thing. And I was just curious if you had an opinion about whether that's an idea that should be embraced or just discarded and not really followed up.
Again, when we did it, I wasn't aware of anything contentious. Same with the kids, it all happened so quickly. It must have been Philip Seagal's decision. Is all I could be wrong.
Okay.
But it's only now, belatedly, I can see why it's contentious. And I think, move on from it, I just think,
Okay.
what's it, delete and, delete and move on, what's that expression in the theatre, anyway, whatever. I think it was wrong.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Then I
But
guess-
don't tweet that, don't say that. Right, cut me some slack, right? This is just me talking.
Then I guess
I can see now why, I think if they'd thought about it properly, they perhaps would have thought about it properly and not included it. That's just a personal thing.
I guess it's a bit of a softball, assuming all the actors were still alive and stuff like that, is there a particular doctor you would have liked to do a crossover with if you, had your druthers?
Well, Hartnell because he was my doctor, but Tom Baker because he's also from Liverpool. I just think, and while there's still time, I just think they should do some Liverpool thing. Just with me and Tom. Just some scally Scots doctors. Now the Scots have overtaken the Scousers in the doctor stakes. They have at Capaldi, and we need to hit back. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, how did you make the part of the doctor your own?
With great difficulty. When I did, when we shot the pilot, or rather before we shot the pilot, it was impressed on me that the pilot was a very specific, it had a specific function. It was going to be like this. With, when Siegel was trying to persuade me to do the part, because we sat for hours, and I said, listen, I don't know if I can do this. It's not really me. And as we talked more and more about it, of course, we covered the notions anyway of how we might approach the series should it go to series, what I might do with it, how I might make the role my own. But this was with the proviso that the pilot should be exactly as they tell it, they describe it. I had no input in it whatsoever. Certain things had to appear in their iconic fashion and in their iconic order. And had it gone to series, I hope anyway that at least I was assured that we would have got to do some of the things that I discussed. So as far as making it my own, I couldn't. I mean, of course I could in a way, it was me and the thing. speaking and coming out the TARDIS and kissing the girl and those kind of things. I guess what I'm trying to say to you is I did as I was told, at least on that occasion, and was rather looking forward to my own little rebellion sometime further down the line. In the Big Finish audios, it's much more, it's a lot more of the way that I would have chosen to do the thing had we got to see it. So in answer, that's a long answer to a short question, but the answer is I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
When you were filming your
look
part
cool.
of Doctor
Even backlit.
so when you were filming your part in Doctor Who, did you think you could have this great reaction 20 years later that you've had?
No, because like we were describing before, it's unique. And the thing is also, remember when I first did it, it had been kicked into the long grass, it had been finished. So there was a kind of, there was a feeling about it that it had run its course. There were tense times and it was sad times actually for it. And even the people at the BBC that took part in the making of the pilot were kind of 50-50 about it. They weren't sure that it was even going to work, and they were slightly embarrassed about it, I've got to say. Why wouldn't they be? Sorry, what was your question?
Did you think you'd have this much popularity now?
No. We just didn't. And I wish. It would have been a great thing. We'd have been cock a hoop, to think that we were working on something that they were going to be talking about 20 years down the line. That would have been great. But no, we didn't. We didn't. And even when you make it, you make a pilot, as we did. I've never made another pilot before or since. But when you make a pilot, you sign. In North America, you sign a standard contract. It's a 6-year contract, meaning that if the thing goes to series, you belong to them. You have to fulfill this 6-year contract. If it doesn't go to series, you're out the door. It's a one-sided thing. So when we were in Vancouver making it, we kind of wanted, part of you is going, yeah, outwardly people on the set are going, yeah, see you back here in September, whatever it is, when we all come back to make the series kind of thing. But quietly, everybody's thinking, this is going to be it, because the chances of a pilot going to series are slim. But that doesn't mean, my kids were babies at the time, and we're looking for schools in Vancouver, because they were going to be little Canadians. And we're looking at houses in the Bay, we were going to have to live there for 5 years. So, so you're kind of hoping against that. That was the atmosphere. So that was the prevailing atmosphere. We weren't thinking, yeah, this is going to be great, and it's going to be famous, and people are going to be talking about it for years to come. Much more likely, and as was proved, it sank without trace, which is the way to think.
If you could have a different companion like K9, would you want to choose a companion?
Would I have canine?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm now a dog person. Right? I wasn't a dog person until about 2 years ago. And I'm now living with the first dog I've ever lived with, since a pup anyway, in my life. So yeah, K9 and me would get along just fine. I'd even have it in the bed with me. I would tell you. Yeah, you bet.
I've noticed we have quite a long line, so maybe if we could sort of cycle through a little bit faster.
Commander.
We have about 20 minutes left.
Commander, I only have one real question. It's not Doctor Who related, because I blame Fox for you not getting any further. But
I'm saying nothing.
my question is, what happened to the A&E series, Horatio Hornblower, where you were one of the best actors in there as Commander Bush?
What happened to it? Well, what happened to it was we lost our leading man to stardom. Johan Griffith, he came over here, what did he do? Fantastic Four, isn't it?
It was Mr. Fantastic.
Anyway, 2002 was the last Hornblower that we shot. I think a year later, or a year after that, he came over to Los Angeles. And we can't get him home.
Okay, so
He
we
won't
need
come
to
home.
write him
Every
and
year
blame
we
him
call
and say, go back.
Yeah, every year, particularly at Christmas and on his birthday and high days, we call him, come on, let's come back. There are still 2 books, Hornblowers, that we've not shot. And before we all like turn 60 odd and 70 odd, we really want to shoot them. But we can't get this kid home, he's too successful. You know, he can never find a
Or
window
maybe
to
he's
come
just waiting until he ages, till he's pudgy and balding.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be a good thing. I really wanted to do it because my character Bush, you probably followed the books, you probably read the books as well. But in the next book that we were going to shoot, Bush loses a leg and gets married in the same episode. Let me do that. I want to shoot that. You know, I want to shoot that. Like limping up the aisle. But he won't come home. So that's the story. As you were.
Now, in The Night of the Doctor, it provided us an on-screen continuity connecting the first 8 Doctors with the 2005 reboot.
Yeah.
Do you think that John Hurst not having a regeneration sequence into the Christopher Eccleston Doctor was a kind of a bookend missing on the other end?
Yes, I do. I actually do. But you know, I wish Stephen Moffat was here now to answer for himself. You know what? We did one of these some weeks back, and he turned up, he came, and John Hurt was there. So I'm sat with John Hurt and Stephen Moffat, and we're doing it now. It probably never happened again. But I said to Stephen at the time, you know, this is great because all these questions that we usually have to field, you can now answer to yourself. And they kept him talking for about an hour and a half, answering these involved questions. No, I do think it was an aberration. Of course, none of it's a mistake. It is what they say it is. And there's, you know, where Doctor Who's concerned, you know, there's histories and there's counter histories. And, you know, you read the novels. Some of the novels have completely different timelines of histories, but you know, they're nonetheless, you know, proper for all that. All I was glad about was to get my own regeneration later. That's all Never mind John and Chris Eccleston. They're grown men, they can look after themselves. I got mine.
There are some fans, including myself, that would have rather you play your Doctor be the one to fight in a time war rather than John Hurt.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, selfishly speaking, I'd have liked to have done it. I'd like to have done it. Yeah. Imagine what we could have done. It would have been great, you know. But there you go. It was their decision. No, I would really. And you know, but it could still happen. It could still happen. Eccleston could come back. You know, anything could happen. So one should never say never. But yeah, I agree. I think, and who wouldn't? You know, I think Chris would probably say the same thing, because that's good material. But you know, when all said, John Hurt's a great actor, and we were lucky to have him. And he's in fact one of the. When I was a kid, I don't know how many of you even remember I, Claudius on the TV. When I was a kid watching it, it's one of the things that made me want to be an actor. And when we were doing that panel, I was just telling you about with Moffat and John Hurt, that's the first time I ever met John Hurt. I'd never met him before. And I was completely tongue-tied. I didn't know what to say to him. Didn't know what to say to him. I don't know the feeling. Like, yeah. And I could tell I was embarrassing him, you know. Anyway, but we were lucky to have him. But yes, I wish it had been me. So it's not like a song. It should have been me. Hi, yeah.
What was it like
I
playing
met
the
you
Doctor?
before. Say again.
What was it like playing the Doctor?
It was nerve-wracking. It was exciting. It was an education. It was a worry to start with, particularly because really good people had played it before. So when you know, Capaldi must have felt the same thing just recently. You know, you're stepping into, like in answer to another question, you know, you want to make the role your own, and there will come a chance when you can make it your own. But when you first start off, it's nerve-wracking because of what's gone before. You know that, and everyone's watching you. You know, is he going to make a mistake? You know, we don't like the way that he looks, you know, I don't like that costume, you know, you feel the pressure of it. But soon, after you've been doing it for even just a short time, you realize that it's a joy, in fact. And all that stuff that's gone before, rather than be an obstacle or a hindrance, becomes, you know, the biggest help in the world, in fact. Yeah, that's what I thought. So there you go. I liked it.
So since you were the Doctor and you've been traveling through time and space in the TARDIS and you've been encountering so many different enemies, what do you think was the best part of like your battles or against?
You know, when you play the Doctor, and I'm sure Capaldi, any of them would say the same thing, unless you get to face the Daleks, you ain't lived yet. You know, they're still the benchmark. But sometimes you get to fight yourself. I know on the audios we've done a couple of things where, you know, there's been versions of, you know, almost an anti-Doctor, and or, you know, like Zagreus, for example, you know, there's a split. But it's still the best fun when you're fighting the Master, the Daleks, you know, the Cybermen, those classic enemies, you know. I was slightly jealous, though, I've got to say, when those Weeping Angels. Because I just think that sometimes the best ideas are the simplest ones. And that's such a simple idea. But it reminds you that, you know, you can still be scared like a child, you know, at things. So I was a bit jealous that I never got to face those. But maybe one day I will, folks. I think that's the moral. There's the moral. Thank you.
Now, as the Doctor, you've had about pretty sure 3 outfits. The one with the leather jacket from the audio dramas.
Yeah.
The original one that was velvet in the movie. And then the one from the Night of the Doctor, which looked, in my opinion, cooler. Which was your favorite to wear?
The first one I wasn't that enamored of. I thought it looked great. I actually preferred just the sheet that I was covering. Well, I think about it. The leather jacket thing was actually something that a friend and I had concocted about 4 years ago, for the simple reason that we were tired of the photographs, because the only photographs then that existed of the 8th Doctor were these ones from this pilot.
Yeah.
And it was years ago, you know, you get older. So this guy said, well, why don't we, you know, whose permission do you have to seek to? So I rang the BBC and I asked them about it. Nobody wanted to make a decision, so I just went and did it. I made that, and I like that, you see, because I'd thought of it. And what it is, it's a leather peacoat, and a peacoat is this old naval jacket. And it was also partly an homage to my late father, who was a sailor. And anyway, it tallied with this idea that the Doctor was a voyager. This is how I saw him, this is how I wanted to play him. And so that was that, so I liked that one. But when we got to shoot Night of the Doctor, I really liked that costume. I thought it worked. It worked, it had enough of the elements of the classic elements, but it also, more appropriately, looked like he'd been in the wars in it. You know, it looked rough and ready, in complete contrast to the first one, which,
yeah, looks like.
I don't know, again, it's the boring thing about being on a film set. You know, people, it's like every time you stop, it's like a pit stop. There'll be somebody like doing this on your face with the sponge, or, you know, this particular costume had to look neat. So every time I stopped, somebody would be rolling it or primping it, or, you know, which used to annoy me. So that's how and then this wig was on my head. The whole experience was like, anyway, don't get me started. But this one for Night of the Doctor was just like, whatever. Covered it in shit, you know, just rip it, you know, where just, I like that. I like that. So then, thank you.
What was your favorite scene to shoot in Doctor Who?
I think in last November, when did we shoot it? Whenever we shot it? April, May. When we shot Night of the Doctor, the scene where he wakes and doesn't know he's dead, it was just kind of cool. I like that. And he's there with the Sisters of Khan. I thought that scene was great. You know, that's the scene I think I enjoyed most shooting. And also the first week with Daphne Ashbrook on the pilot, and we were inside that house with big glass windows. That was the first week, the first few days shooting. You know, and he kind of comes through the window, and those, because it was special, you know, when I was getting to know Daphne. So those are my favorites.
Thank you.
You will?
So, as far as I know right now, the name of the Doctor has not been released to the public, so I was wondering if you are aware of what the name of the Doctor is. And if it was as important when you were playing
the Doctor's real name?
Yeah.
What, like Simon or something? You mean, he has a name?
So, obviously, as you're saying, it wasn't as big of a deal when you were playing as the Doctor.
What wasn't as big of a thing?
The name of it.
In latest plots, his name is a mystery and has a lot of power.
I gave him a name. No, I gave him a name. Because but that was just for me. And I think Capaldi must have given him a name, and the others just, they know his name. It's like, what is it, like the 1,000th name of Allah or something, isn't it? But it's a thing. You don't tell anybody. I know his name. Do you know his name?
I do not know his name.
See me later. I'll tell you his name.
So, in the Doctor Who series, when you were acting, what was the most awkward situation that they ever asked you to be put in to act in?
When we were shooting,
Yeah.
I think I got away with most of the awkward stuff. Because I only did those two things. I only shot the pilot for 4 or 5 weeks and this thing for a day. But probably it was like the chase sequence, the bike stuff and all the green screen stuff. Green screen, it is what it is. It's a chore. Really. It's a great sequence that on the motorbike, but it was awkward to do. And maybe kissing the girl. Kissing the girl was awkward because I didn't know how to do it. Because I didn't know how to do a chaste kiss. He said it's got to be a chaste kiss, an innocent kiss. And I thought, how do you do that? I'd only ever done licentious kissing all my life. So yeah, that was awkward. As was proved. It's historically, but that's a fascinator.
All right, I don't really have a question. I have a comment. My friend over there, Sam, she's never seen Doctor Who, but she thinks your voice is very calming. And that's it. Calming.
Oh,
like if,
that's nice.
Yeah. Sam wave.
That's nice.
That's it.
That's nice. You've never seen Doctor Who.
Why are you here?
Why are you here? Why are you here?
She's never been to a convention. I took pity on her.
Well, welcome anyway. You picked a good one, you must. Hello. Hello. You look like a doctor.
How it turns out like one.
I'm just dressed like one. What's your question?
Can you tell me your song good ever?
Can I what? It's back at the table. I left it at the table. I can't. I tell you, but I can. When we're through here, if you come with me, and then we can have our picture taken with it. Together.
Okay.
That would be it. If you do that, when we're out of this room, I'll see you back at the table when you do that, and you can see it. Have you got yours? You got one in your hand. Yeah, well, we can both hold our screwdrivers. I'd like that.
So, assuming, like, since you're a Doctor Who fan, I'm assuming you've seen like a whole bunch of episodes of the series. What's your least favorite or like worst episode in your opinion of like either the old or the new series?
Least favorite? I don't know, that's kind of almost a divisive question. Sometimes in the last couple of years, and you know what I mean when I say this, sometimes I've turned it on, and it's been kind of effects heavy, or you know what I mean? It's been crash bang wallop, as we say in England, with not a lot of substance. And I think that sometimes, let's be frank, sometimes it's happened. And so those are the times I look at it and go, actually, you know what? That didn't work this week. But then the next week it might redeem itself. But every now and again it's just that. So I don't want to say, yeah, back in 1979 there was some pile of poo. I'm not going to say that. But you know what I mean? Sometimes it sets such a high standard, and from time to time. And you know what? Who would be Stephen Moffat or his predecessors? Because it's a tough ask.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
We have about 5 minutes left, and also 5 more people.